Hi, you're watching this YouTube live on NDTV's YouTube platform. My name is Sanket Upadhyay and I'm here to discuss a very important story. Only yesterday, the Home Minister Amit Shah proposed something which will be of high consumer interest. He talks about not having separate cards or separate identities and having just one card, which will take care of everything. He was referring to the idea of one nation, one card. Now, how does that work and what does it mean? First of all, I want to emphasize over here that this is a proposal as of this moment. There'll be feasibility studies, there'll be discussions and deliberations, and only then perhaps a decision will be taken. So this should not be construed as a decision having been taken by the Modi government. So what does he say? He says that the latest census which is going to take place, remember census takes place every 10 years, once every decade. This census that is going to take place will be a digital census, right? So instead of pen and paper, you will have the census officers come and maybe take all the details in a digital format. Maybe they'll carry a tablet or they will carry a digital identity. There will be a username or a password. I don't know. All of that is still being worked out. He feels, the Union Home Minister feels, that once you have a digital census, he then floats the idea of one identity card which will replace the duplication that is done with what he calls our siloed documentation processes. Now, what is a siloed documentation process? You've got a PAN number, you've got an Aaadhar card, you've got a passport, you've got a passbook, you've got a voter ID, and there are many such identities. All of these are valid, but they're separate. They're all separate identities, which leads to more paperwork according to the government. Now the government proposes that why not have one card which will take care of all these needs. Of course, a number of questions will be asked or will emanate. For instance, how do you replace a passport with something else? Because passport is an internationally recognized document of travel. Every nation, every citizen of every nation who wishes to travel abroad has to have a passport. So what exactly is the proposal over here? How does one nation, one card replace the passport or complement the passport? So it will be interesting to see what really is on the government's mind. Let me just quickly quote what Mr. Amit Shah said. He said, "We will have to end all these separate exercises." He was saying this at the foundation stone laying ceremony of the new office of the Registrar General of India and the Census Commissioner, in which he says, and I quote again, "If we do a digital census well, then all cards can come into one card. Government has not made this plan yet, but I want to put the potential in front of you to show that a successful digital census is your work and for the benefit of the public," unquote. He also says that this exercise, the entire exercise of census, is going to cost about 12,000 crore rupees. He says that if it is done in a scientific manner, if there is a one nation, one card, then in that case, scientific planning and development of the nation can actually take place. He gives a very nice example, and I want to talk about this as well. It's again, can spark off a debate, but it's an argument. He says, can birth and death registration be tied to electoral rolls? Right? There should be a link between your birth and death certification with your electoral roll so that you don't have to perform these activities separately. The concept of siloed documentations is what he is talking about. He says if a child's birth is registered and there is no death registered until he is 18, then that person need not stand in a queue or need not actually go and get a voter ID card made. It will be assumed that he is alive and he'll be granted a card the moment he or she turns 18. So it says, can the electoral rolls not automatically include him? Can a registered death not automatically remove the person from the electoral roll? So that's one of the benefits that he is talking about. To explain this in easy to understand language, this basically means that the documentation which so far is being done separately, where you get your birth certificate and death certificate, and the process of correction in the electoral rolls. These are siloed documentations that take place in this country. Of course, there will be many who would say that there is a reason why it happens. For instance, there are many people who, there is procedural delay in these documents. You can't just automatically strike names off, because if you do that, then it could lead to a great amount of injustice in the case of a few people. What about the computation problems that people face within the systems? Many dead people in this country who are on paper dead but still alive are fighting this fight on a regular basis. So is this proposal foolproof? And if it is not foolproof, can it be made foolproof so that in the future we could look at achieving something like this? Because in theory, what he seems to be proposing, the Home Minister, is not bad. He says that, I mean, why do you need to carry out these activities separately, this documentation process separately? Why cannot all of it be linked and be done automatically, thus reducing the burden on you, the end user, and reducing the burden on the government as far as digital as well as documentation processes are concerned? So it's a significant debate that the Home Minister has started. I am reiterating again, he mentions that this is a proposal stage. It is in a proposal stage. It has not been implemented. Neither is the government set a deadline to implement something like this. Now, there are many schemes. If you recall, when Aaadhar was being linked to all and sundry, it was being said that this linking with all the other cards is going to bring about uniformity and is also going to help the government reaching out to those who need the benefit. And also one unspoken benefit that many in the government felt was that suppose if you are caught in a bank fraud, then it will be easy, because of this Aaadhar linking, to identify who has committed that fraud, and you will be able to trail who has carried out that transaction. There are many other benefits also, for instance, in the public distribution system. So Amit Shah feels that most of these schemes in a delinked, siloed manner, we're talking about the PDS schemes and the social welfare schemes, have been implemented, which he feels in a piecemeal fashion or an ad hoc fashion. He says 22 schemes were on, which are the most significant ones being Ujjwala, that is the gas cylinder Yojana. Now, mapping would become automatically easy if you have all of these things linked. Again, right now we are only talking about the possibilities in theory. What the Home Minister seems to have started, and it'll be an interesting debate, which I propose to do right here on NDTV as well, is to figure out the feasibility. How can this happen? How much benefit will be there actually with a scheme like this happening? And what are the pitfalls? Remember, a lot of people say that this will restart the privacy debate all over again. And with the Supreme Court ruling that right to privacy is a fundamental right, it assumes a lot of importance, where the government is trying to arm itself with more powers and more data. Remember, the Prime Minister said data is the new oil. Data is everything. So if the government has data, and too much of data is the argument, then how does this work? So this debate is going to go on to fine-tune this idea, and perhaps in the future look at this as a unique proposition. By the way, India is not going to be the only country to do this. There are various media reports that talk about actually talk about more than 60 countries implementing a one nation, one card scheme. So can we give it a shot? Can we learn from those countries what they actually did? Do remember that most of these countries have far less population. They have far less complications. We are a diverse country, different languages, different regions, different states. Then you've got the whole issue of federalism, state subject, central subject. How is all of this going to be worked out? It's going to be a mammoth task. And then the one dimension that we often forget is the politics. How is the politics going to play around on a proposal like this? So one nation, one card. Where do you stand on the issue? Do you think it is good or bad for us as a country? I would love to read your comments in the comment section. Okay, that is story number one. Let's now talk about the other story that we are tracking. For that, I'll ask my friend to just zoom in on this website. This is the PMC, Punjab and Maharashtra Bank website. So the moment I open this website, what happens is, so when I open the website, it says press release of the RBI on PMC Bank, directions under section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act 1949, Punjab and Maharashtra Co-Operative Bank Limited. Of course, many of you must have read the story, but let me quickly tell you and show you their website. So they have attached a press release right on the front page, which says that there are directions under section 35A for the Punjab and Maharashtra Co-Operative Bank Limited. Now, what does this directive say? This actually talks about imposing a 1,000 withdrawal limit on the PMC Bank, and that has led to a huge chaos outside the Bhandup branch in Mumbai of the Punjab and Maharashtra Co-Operative Bank, the PMC Bank. The RBI has put a limitation of withdrawal of amount of these account holders. The restriction is going to remain in force for a period of 6 months. That means all you can withdraw, all that people can withdraw is 1,000 rupees. That is it. Now, this does not explain the reason why this has been done, but RBI, as you know, is the in charge of all the banking system, the banks in this country, and RBI in its wisdom feels that this has been done to protect the interests and also keeping the health of the bank. In the health check that they've done, they figured out that this is a step which is required. Now, this statement says, and I quote, without the prior approval in writing from the Reserve Bank, the bank will also be able to grant or renew any loans. That means there will be no new loans or renewal of loans or advances that this bank can actually give out. Now, this obviously has led to a lot of chaos. We are getting reports through the day. Our correspondents are tracking each and every detail in Mumbai of large lines outside the bank. There is great anger among all the customers who must have deposited their life savings in these bank accounts. Imagine all those life savings not being available or in a very limited amount being available for the next 6 months. How does this work out? So this has led to a little bit of a chaos, and it will be interesting to see what response the RBI is going to give. As I told you, the PMC Bank, this withdrawal limit has led to protest by depositors outside the bank's main branch in Mumbai's Bhandup area. Now, what does the RBI say about this decision? They want to try and convince the account holders that they should not worry, because it's not like they've announced the closure of this bank. So what does the RBI say in this statement? It says the issue of the directions by the RBI or the Reserve Bank should not per se be construed as cancellation of the banking license by the RBI. The bank will continue to undertake banking business with restrictions till further notice or instructions. The Reserve Bank may consider modifications of these directions depending upon circumstances, unquote. So the exact circumstances have not been listed out in this press release, but yes, they do talk, and this is perhaps a bit of a hope that comes for all the account holders in the PMC Bank, where the RBI, the Reserve Bank, says that they may consider modification of the directions that they've issued depending upon circumstances. They can modify their order of putting this limit or withdrawal limit of 1,000 rupees per account. They could do it. This is for 6 months. They could decide to reduce this tenure from 6 months to something lesser, or remove or increase the withdrawal limit. So all of that is still in the ambit of the Reserve Bank of India. It's obviously, I mean, when you hear a story like a withdrawal limit being imposed on a bank, then obviously it is going to spread panic, and that is understandable, but I guess there must have been a very strong reason why this is being done. What did the RBI feel is going wrong for which they had to do this? There'll be certain amount of investigation which will be done. We'll also try asking questions of people in the Reserve Bank of India to understand, and also the government to understand, why this decision has been taken, why the need was felt to take a decision so drastic as this. That's a wrap in this edition of YouTube Live. Do keep watching. Write in your comments. I'm going to take a few of those comments on our TV channel in all the debates that we do. Thank you so much.